Could be a wild card. It's a wild card session, but could be a wild session for that matter. Expectation, misdirection traps, velocity shifts, and a lot of traders pretending they knew it was all coming along. All right, so you never know what's going to happen here, but all right, so that was a little fast downdraft. Hopefully nobody got caught on that. Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025, against the audio addition to the daily trade strategy briefing. NFA compliance rule 2-29C, subparagraph 1. Go visit it. Line in the sand today is a cycle day 3. Line in the sand, we have upside target zone as well now.
We have a revision to
downside
August
target zone.
industrial production. Revised from 0.1% to minus 0.3%.
So the 55-65 area
industrial
fulfilled.
production revised
And then
down
on that
from
downdraft here, we
0.1%
had now the
to minus
0.3%, down into the 15 zone, now fulfilled. So daily trade strategy briefing once again. Don't want to toot my own horn, but once again, spot on for levels. We'll see what the rest of the day brings. All right, let me release the daily trade strategy now. Since the targets have been filled, I can release it to the general public. 1 second. All right. Everybody gets it premium until all the levels get hit. There we go. There's the day. You want to read the full strategy briefing written last night? There it is. Okay, so nice little downdraft from the Microsoft announcement there about I don't know, AI software sales. It's all a house of cards. All right, so let's see what happens. So here we go. This is just our broader. Actually, what I did on the let me take this one. What I did on the graphic overnight in the briefing, so I combined the several days value area profile. So there's your multi-day value high and low. So we're pretty much right there right now, right? 21s, 25s in this vicinity. So, right, tagging right here at the lower edge of value. So again, this is a composite view, composite multi-day. All right, and then up here at the 50-ish. So this is the idea here. So again, a fairly well kind of a D-shaped profile, delta-shaped profile, which is indicative of balancing. Whereas the tails taper off to the upside, to the downside, and again the Fat Albert. I call this the Fat Albert zone. All right, Fat Albert. The density, right? We can refer to that as the density zone as well. All right, again, approximately 70% of all the activity there. So there it is. This is when we've kind of been slashing around back and forth. So what do we got here? We're pretty much right down at the edge here. All right, so what needs to happen for the bullish case? So we'll see how the market reacts fully to this Microsoft announcement, but anything AI related, right, is a house of cards. All right, but nonetheless, the bulls now need to reclaim, I would say, 25-30s, right? So this is more dynamic now, right? So they need to reclaim 25-30s, get back above, hold above, right? And then see what happens after that. Of course, now the bears have a slight advantage at the moment. Okay, and again, if they can hold it below this current area here, and actually get below the prior low, which looks like there was 12s, right? You get below the prior lows, then they have an opening to try to force long liquidation. Again, I've noted that in the daily trade strategy as well. All right, so yeah, it's evident how important the AI trade is. I mean, everybody's loaded with the AI trade, right? I mean, the old adage, the bus is too full. I mean, everybody's loaded at the AI trade. All right, so there's really, anything that actually comes out
U.S.
in terms of
Treasury Secretary
negative,
Bessent says Trump
is
has
going to weigh
normalized the
heavily
idea of a 15 to 20%
on
tariff.
price action, with the AI trade, right? So, yeah, that trade, the metals complex, everyone's loaded. Yeah, exactly. All right. So, anyways, that's kind of with the new information. Obviously,
Bessent
that just
says
came
Greer
out
has
with the
done a great
Microsoft.
job
This
lifting
is what we
non-tariff
have.
barriers.
You can clearly see, what has happened. That's the old, while we use the profile. What has happened? How has the market distributed? Well, what it doesn't tell you is the, longs and shorts and so forth. I mean, how many longs, how many shorts in here? I mean, you can go to the commitment of traders report at the end of each week and try to, assess what the overall positioning is.
Bessent
But
says he has
to me,
evolved in
I've
his
never
thinking
found
on
the commitment of
tariffs.
traders report useful in the sense of it's helping me put on a trade in any way, you know. So some academics, I suppose, like the use of it. I don't find it that useful. Obviously, profile here is much more useful to me. So the RTH midpoint. So we get again, we're going to be looking at these, this zone that we have, right? 25s down to 15s, as certainly key. And then I think the reclaim get back above 25s, 30s, right? At least to try to stabilize, the current downdraft. All right. Um, so we'll see. And again, the AI trade is big, and maybe they still want to, BTFD, right? Buy the F and dip. We'll see. That said, looking back now at the uh, intraday activity, again, we clearly, if we're going to be thinking of a long, so again, just taking the scenarios, right? Right. What's the control right now?
Bessent says
Right, to the
tariffs
sell
have
side.
not set off an
Okay,
inflationary
it should be fairly
mindset.
clear, right, with this downdraft. It doesn't mean it can't, stabilize and then rip right back up, because obviously, not every, with this downdraft, not everybody has gotten short on that announcement, right? The algos that are, news related algos, they're the ones that get to slam everything first. And then everybody else
Says
kind of like,
China
hey,
has
what happened? What
consistently
happened? What
cut
happened?
prices
So,
for exports.
now that, the assessment is in this area here, is there another leg down? Right. So,
He does not
again, people
believe
are
that
out there
tariffs are
probably
a
examining,
tax.
well, should we put out new shorts? You know, how devastating, is that announcement going forward? What's the read through, that type of thing? Or is just kind of a quick negative reaction, and the BTFD, right? Buyers come in. All right. Obviously, you probably have some shorts in here, laying out new shorts, and then you squeeze those guys back up. Again, I don't know. So as far as I'm concerned, at this stage, looking at this, there's nothing for me to do, except to watch for a little bit as the market opens and see what the market gives us for opportunities. Again, the type of trades we look for are the ones that are more stable in terms of the market's going, kind of stair stepping up or stair stepping down, and it's kind of a, it's not these fast drops like we're seeing here. Right, these are just kind of quick dislocations. And so now with this sideways action here, it's not really actionable for me anyways, not really actionable for an entry. So until we get some stabilization, and maybe there is a lower leg to go down, but right now we'll be a spectator on the opening. We're still within, yesterday excuse me, yesterday was an inside day.
UN Secretary General on the war in Ukraine
today,
says,
so
I
far,
believe we are
is
still
also
far from
an
a solution.
inside day, right? So this is the prior highs
In 3 minutes
up in
time,
here,
we'll
and
be
here's your
getting
prior
S&P
lows
Global
down here.
Canadian
So
PMIs
again, we're
for
pretty much
services
all
and composite.
inside. Right,
For
so nothing
services,
really
we're
exchanges. There's a lot
expecting
of
November
whippiness
final.
that can happen within this zone.
For
Clearly, we
services,
know
November
that.
final, we have no
So until
expectation,
they,
but a prior
one side,
50.5. For composite, November
breaks
reading,
cleanly
again,
outside
no
of there,
expectation.
Over
Sorry about
and to whip around. So we just got to be, again, on our toes. All right, cycle day 3, wild card day. Again, that's my term, and we'll see how that unfolds. All right, check out Manny's stuff, bows, and then chieftains, chiefs levels as well. All great stuff. Thank you so much for the addition. Just a wild card day. It's just a term that I use, meaning that the cycle targets were fulfilled. So based upon the 3-day cycle, yes, it could go further, but since the initial cycle target has gotten fulfilled, kind of like, you're free to move about the cabin type of thing. All right, so wild card for direction. That's my term. It's not a Taylor term, just something that I've kind of coined. All right. Of course, anything and everything will happen, can happen. All right, so let's be patient. Let's see if we can get some decent movement out of this. And yeah, let's have a good day. I have an appointment today during lunchtime, so I will be actually out during lunchtime for about an hour or so. 12:30 appointment. Get an eye appointment. See if I can get my eyes fixed. All right. You had yours yesterday, yeah. Well, this is kind of a new guy that I'm going to, because the other ones, they were useless. They were useless. This guy's an ex-army guy, so we'll see if. And
I'm gonna take
I had
30s
3
here
months,
or 29s
3
if I
months
can
for
get
an
them.
appointment.
Got away from me. I didn't pay attention. You see this little notch right
3
here?
months. I have no idea on that.
I don't want to. You see this little notch right here? It could be sold into. I didn't get the 30s. It looks pretty strong here, but we'll see. All right. Oh, market opened and I missed it. All right. So let's just see if we can get them. Let's just take this off. Right. Close that because again, I don't think that these positions survive the open. It's better just to wait for it to set up again, in my opinion. So I'm gonna protect a little bit. It was a winning trade. You can see there though that I didn't quite get the best out of it, but I am still in some. I got five little micros on here. It's also important not to panic out. So let's check out David, see what he's got going on, and take it from there.
Rick, I see you're all set. Okay, getting into the room. Hopefully Marlon helped you there this morning. I don't know what was going on there. All right, let's see what the boys and girls here want to do. They can slam and jam here.
All right, great, guys. Hey, look, they stuck. It did stick. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'm gonna take, ooh, okay. I should have not moved the original order.
All right.
This shit is like crazy because I hate when I start moving those orders around, and typically around the open, I don't want to be in a position.
Yeah, Manny got his
That's David talking about me.
scenario 2.
Setup number 2.
Very nice. Buy them when they're down. Hit them when they're up. Hit them when they're down.
I'm gonna
Buy them
try
when
to
they're
get my
down. Sell
setups
them when they're up.
posted on here from now on. We'll see. All right, so we're closing in on the target here. That'll be a 13-point win. There it goes, filled. 13 points.
Hit them when they're up. Hit them when they're down. All right, buyers stepping in. We'll see how far. Again, if you're looking for a potential short trade here, it will be against around the 810 zone. Let's see if anybody does anything there. So still within the context of yesterday's range. And it looks like the shorts are being forced to cover here a little bit on that downdraft.
Obviously, we want to take 41s off. Often what happens, at least to me, is that around the open, I don't want to be in a position, right? But this was a pre-planned setup that I had planned out overnight. I posted it in the room at about, I don't know, 7 a.m. this morning. You can see it's this green line right here, right? I want it to be here. Let me just show you, flash the setup here. I have, they're in a Word doc. Hang on a second. Trade plan. All right, so you can see here, these are my setups. If I can make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see. So I draft setups every morning. I had a support buy at 68.24 to 28, right? And that's highlighted here by this green olive line. And so obviously I don't want to buy it on the way down, right? Just get run over. So I was able to get in at 21s, which is probably around the time I started the stream. So let's turn David back on if he really got to say.
These people.
Obviously expecting a move up here to the overnight point of control at 52. So let's just fan some of these orders out. Make sure that we have our exits in. 51 is where I want to be. 51s would be a 30-point trade. 41s would be obviously a 20-point trade here with the entry right here. Okay. So yeah. Looking good. Looking good. Anyone that tells you trading is easy, it just kind of gets under my skin, but because it is anything
all
but
the tools.
easy.
All right, so what do we got? We got about 36s, 37s. All right, so they got to get now through these 35, 36s, the bulls. All right. Right now, looks like a double distribution, a Pamela Anderson
Haha.
pattern.
That's quite funny.
Double D's.
Let me write down my notes here. So I've got in plus 10. Time is it 9:38? 9:38. 12, 3:25. Okay. Off micro. Off news. Two triggered.
Thanks, Steve. 68.44. Okay. And that's pretty much right where the ATR of this sits, right? So some confluence there.
We'll get back to
A lot of chop right here. I can see it.
one of the things that I focus on every day is just, frequently what happens is, we all become susceptible to, the greeds and so on and so forth. The child, greed is can manifest in very subtle ways, right? So kind of like when I started trading, almost, you know, gosh, almost 15 years ago, more than that. Uh, the idea was to come on here and treat this as a side hustle and make a couple extra dollars a day, right? I remember being like, if I could put together $200 or $300 a day, that would be great. And for the most part, for the first 10 years, that's what this was. It was a side hustle. I put on a trade or two and with mixed results and so on. And then, we all dream of becoming a professional trader who can kind of stop working for the man. Then my idea was, come in, make a couple of dollars, move on. Somehow, when we sit down here, we kind of see all of the opportunities that fly by, and slowly but surely, the more time you spend at the desk, the harder it becomes to, for lack of a better term, have a more humble approach, be satisfied with the,
All right, so we get
be satisfied with a more, I don't know, I would say with a more realistic daily goal, right? And so, my point is just to try to make a couple of dollars every day still, whether that's and whether that's executing one trade or five trades, I typically want to be done at a certain point because the more you trade, the lower your probability of success is. All right, we're coming into that first target now here. See if we can get it. I don't know. It seems kind of far away right now, right? you know, I always, I like to tell myself, hey, be strict on your rules for entry and be flexible on exit, right? But you also don't want to, I don't like to take exits just to make myself feel better, right? So sometimes when you're so jittery, at least myself, you know, I can exit a trade just because you know, you get anxious about the results. So just trying to be mindful of that.
We get PMI data coming out in a few minutes. Sometimes that can be a mover.
Oh, I'm going to also say that, you know, for some reason, I was cut off midstream yesterday. So you know, I'm working on it. I'm trying to see if it was a
All right,
PC
we get a
issue or
pullback.
software
We
issue.
had 25-ish. Yeah, 25, 27 zones, some high volume there. See if that holds on a dip. Not being able to really get traction above 38s.
And David's right. You know, look at the structure here too, right? Is it going to come straight back up? I think it's time to peel, right? I mean, yeah, it can do anything, right? But what's more probable? What's more likely?
Yeah, you up holding.
We came up, we tested VWAP. You know, we get another test into that area. I don't want to stick around if it's not going to break, right? So
Usually first touch, yeah. I mean, technically, the first touch is a kind of a universal concept. You know, literally first touch of any kind of key area, not any level, but a key. You know, so VWAP, back test to a VWAP, usually the first touch. You know, it's not always assured, but tendency is, first touch, you get some sort of tradable reaction.
okay, one of the algorithms here is long. So I have auto execution strategies that run and which I'm testing now. I'm not 100% satisfied with the
David
performance
said,
yet, but I'm not sure that you will ever be.
but David said.
Yeah, so we came up here again. We tested into that area and faded, right? Let's make sure we have our stop. Oh, our stop is wrong. It's a line there, so let's just make sure that we have our stop in place. And now you just let it work, right? Listen to what David has to say. Have a drink.
Another thing, I'm just throwing out some things while I'm, like I like to use the rectangle. So I like to see where markets shifted, right? So like for instance in here where, you had this premium and then it came above there and pulled back and then kind of held, on that shift, right? So that's kind of the stuff you want to be looking for, right? Is, where it shifted and then that pullback, like in here. So, this was the last high, right? They got above the high, and then they pull back, and now they're basically holding
Peasant
that,
says private credit growth is a sign that bank
shift.
regulation is too tight.
All right. So when you're looking for a level, you're looking for, well, where did it shift? What price area, level that's roughly the 28s, give or take, right? Plus or minus. So you say, all right, it punched through the 28s, so a pullback to around the 28s. And again, this is kind of what you're looking for the market to do structurally. If the market shifts it and then rips right back down, then rips right back up, like again,
Some color
then
from that S&P
I
Global
just kind of
US
stand aside
PMI report.
until the market settles
They
down
say output growth was
into a
seen in
rhythm.
all
It's always,
7
to
monitored
me, it's always,
sectors.
what type
Financials
of
remain the
rhythm
best performing
is
category.
happening. These are the
Consumer
traders up.
goods registers the fastest production growth since April 22. And there's a softer expansions seen in technology and consumer services.
At what level, what zone?
Okay, we got a croak there,
And
which is a
then
program sell.
I'm more interested in, okay, let's see what
Kind of got
happens.
this structure building out here right
You know,
now.
does it hold that shift? that zonal shift.
Yeah, there goes another croak, right? That's an institutional sell program on SPY. It's not a big one, so I don't try. I'm not going to react off of it, but what I'm dialing in on here is look at the structure that's kind of building out. Right, this is still early. It's not very mature, but as David pointed out, right, we're forming. We're having a problem getting over those 36s right now. So what would you think, right? I would suspect that we'd come back down here and test this part, test the fat part of the profile, where the most volume traded, right? And I think that that's where decisions are made, right? Where people are lined up either to buy, and if market makers want to push through there and they need the liquidity, and that's the game, is to get them lower, then they're going to wait for those guys to get in long, and then they're going to, so you'll see maybe a little up move, a few points or so, and then it'll come crashing back down, and all those guys get liquidated, and that's pretty much how they tee them up, right? All right, so coming back down again, we're going to take. Let's see. Let me see what my clock stop is here. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. All right. I don't think anyone can shake their hat at 10 points, right? Especially since the structure is dictating. It's not a panic exit either. It's just a smart one, right? How do they say? Monitor for continuation. So then you just kind of try to hold on, see if the market pays you out, see if your position is safe. But we're coming back into those 24s, 25s now. See what the market, what they want to do. It looks like the game is to get them lower for a bit. and if that's the case, then we'll have, let's see what we have below here. Let's see. Daily trade plan. Okay. So here's the daily trade plan, right?
All right.
I'm currently in setup number
Didn't get a
2.
touch of the 810. Still open though.
So now, if we do break below here,
The
68,
25s already
18,
highlighted.
right? My next plan setup is a support buy in the 6809 to 6813 region, which is the big rally on SPX. We'll see, right? But that's the setup right there. Here's what I'll do. See if I can get this in here. See if I can. Okay, that would be the next potential setup. So it's on there for everyone to see, and you can kind of follow along.
Hey, Rick, I'll call you. I'll call you back shortly. Okay, I got your message here. Thanks. All right. Now what?
Yeah, I think the clock is seeking a low here, so if that's the case, I wouldn't expect those lows to hold.
Starting to drift back lower.
Yep, sure is, David. Pretty tight range here. Pretty tight range. You know, we can also get a kind of a on setup. Let's see, what number is that? I typically have between 4 and 9. So I mean, I try not to have too many, right? I want to just it just really isn't that much. But all right, we're about to take a graceful exit here. Yep, we're out. I'm out. Make sure that there are no rogue orders out there. All right, so
All right. So you can see that slow drift. Slow fin
so here's another
drift.
setup that might work.
Fizz, rather.
60. So look below and fail of 68.12 down here, this region.
All right, we should get a little retest of this low, reaction low. See if there's they can hold that.
68.12. Look below and fail. Let's see if I can get that one printed up, posted up.
All right, no problem, Rick. Rick, I just wanted to make sure you were able to get back into the room, and it looks like Marlon was able to help you, or that the link. Just wanted to make sure you were all set with that.
All right, I just want to listen to this report here, Peter's pre-market perspective.
Good morning. Welcome to the Pre-Market Perspective. Today is Wednesday, December 3rd. So one of the things I was talking about in the written part of the report, I was saying, we'll look at your hourlies to see the balance area. And it's pretty classic, right? You've got equal lows and equal highs. Look at this double bottom here. This one's a little bit higher, but look at these tops. Right? So you've got all these areas where it's the same. So balance rules are in play for this kind of larger area. And as I was saying, hourly charts often kind of paint the picture really, really nicely. So you want to kind of look at that in the bigger picture. And here we talked yesterday about how to enter kind of market generator information rather into your narrative. And we can add on to everything we talked about yesterday. If you recall, we talked about how the low here did not penetrate below the RTH low, correct? And look what happened yesterday. As we sold off, it was clearly a higher low, right? This is an HL, higher low right in here. And value was overlapping to up. So all of this is within the context of the big move that went up like this, and now nothing's happening. And that is very bullish. If nothing's happening and nobody wants to take any of the froth off this move, really, just a tiny bit off the top, it's not bringing in any sellers. Well, then that tells you a lot about the nature of things. So I would keep that in mind. The upside is continuing to be a breakout level, and it only strengthened that argument yesterday because you are now in 3 sessions of the same high. So this high is very weak now and should be considered a breakout level long if we can push up out of there. And remember, this is all balance, so balance rules are in play. So if you get up there and you fail that and you come in, there's potential that you rotate back down into here to the lower end of balance, right? Because that's how balance rules work. We know you have to know what the potential outcomes are and what could happen. Okay. That's pretty much it. I mean, short and sweet. There's not too much else to talk about. You'll notice that in the RTH distribution, there aren't many key levels except for this one here in the middle, which I would keep in mind because it's got three things all at the same spot. It's where the settlement was, where the POC was, and it's also the midpoint of yesterday's range. So obviously it's important. In order to have better odds of kind of breaking and holding here, I would like to see this level hold. I would like to not see us come through here. So just kind of keep that in mind as you trade. Us come through here. Level hold. I would like to not see us come through here. So just kind of keep that in mind as you trade. All right, that's all. Have a wonderful session.
Thanks, David. I mean, Peter.
That kind of, let me see if I can find it. All right. Maybe it's, I forget what I called it. No, hold on. Oh, no, that's wild card. I'll find it. I forget what I called it.
Why did Amazon send me $20,000?
Oh, maybe I know. Let me see. I think it was Visa line. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. I called it Be the Lion. Okay. So that's my kind of visualization regarding trading in the middle. Okay, so if you take a look at that, you get the wildebeest on the plains of the Serengeti, and then you have the lions on the edge. So you can see the profile there, right? A fairly balanced profile. Okay, so what I mean about not wanting to trade in the middle is the lions won't go into a middle of a herd, will they? You know they won't, because why? They're going to get trampled, right? They're going to get run over. What they do is they wait for, a straggler or an injured wildebeest, right, that gets pushed outside the herd. So where the lions, right? They're trolling the edges of the herd. Okay. So kind of when we have this range condition here, right? That's kind of what I'm talking about until it's resolved. One way it's resolved, right? But until it's resolved, I just want to stay, just kind of hanging out at the edges, So like for our purposes, an edge would be defined as, right, a prior pivot area, right? So here's your, all right, here's your prior pivot zone. Where's my little tools here, right? So here's my prior pivot zone there, right? And we can just outline a pivot zone there. So that becomes that's where the lions are, right? Trolling that edge. So that's what I mean. Good question though. Yeah, I like that graphic. Rise. I have a lot of visualizations that can help kind of get points across, And again, and once it's resolved, right? Once we get, above or below, and again, a clearing and converting. A clearing and converting of an area of a level, then we can start, favoring, leaning into that direction. And that's why, to me, a lot of people try to anticipate the breakout. Oh, I want to buy it before the breakout. And I suspect, at least from my experience over the years, that most of that is a fail, they're failed attempts, and people get trapped. I don't want to get trapped. I'd rather miss a trade, stay out of the way, than get trapped. Because there's always going to be a trade. There's always going to be better structured trade than trying to play a breakout. Let the market break out. Let it pull back. Let it hold. Let the market, tell us what it wants. So if we get a move up here, right, and we get a pullback, we hold, then it becomes okay. The market consolidated, it played, the resolution, favored the long side, and we'll go with that, right?
First pullback, take trade.
All right, guys, there's nothing really here for me for now. I'm going to sign off. I have something that I have to take care of off screen, and I'm going to step out of the room. I'll check back in a bit. Bye.